The Premier League had some surprises for us in its first week back. The League's Cup seems like it's Messi's to lose, or is it? And the Women's World Cup is winding down. Who do we think will win it all? We will cover all of this and more on the supporters section. Grab your scarves. We start right now. Welcome into the supporter section. I am Brandon Pasek, and this is episode 76 of the supporter section podcast. Before we get started, make sure you drop a like for us and subscribe if you have not already. I have my best friend here with me, Steven Curl. Steve, tell us about that kit you're wearing.
Oh yeah, just a little retro throwback to a simpler time for Tottenham Hotspur, back when they were playing in White Hart Lane, baby.
Great stadium. My uncle actually got to visit it. Rest in peace. Now the new stadium is sitting on top of White Hart Lane, isn't it? Somewhere around there.
Yeah, it's close to it. I think the old midway point, like the old center spot of the field, is up in the concourse, and it's has the outline of the original lines that you can see when you go into the stadium. Ooh, pretty cool.
That is pretty awesome. I'm wearing Spain because, like I said in previous podcasts, I think the women's Spanish team is the best in the world, and they will probably win the World Cup. We'll talk about that later, but let's get into our first segment today, some transfer talk. Steve, Neymar is leaving PSG after 6 years. The most expensive transfer ever, still to this day, with all of the crazy signings that have happened in the past 2 years. He will be joining Hilal on a $300 million package, record salary over 2 years, no option to extend, but the salary could go up to $400 million based on add-ons and other commercial deals. What does your heart tell you about this, Steve? It sort of hit me today, and I was like, this one is probably the craziest out of all the ones we've seen this summer to go to Saudi. How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think Neymar had so much, maybe not, but I thought had so much left in the tank to offer to competitive football matches, games that mattered for trophies in Europe's top 5 leagues. So I think that's what's so surprising, and there's just so much more to be left desired from Neymar's career, and so it's really strange to see him step down, I guess, from competitive football, and yeah, it hits you in a way of, this is Mr. Current Age Brazil supposed to be. He was supposed to be doing all these awesome things and just didn't end up working out for Neymar. So I would have loved to see him go back to Barca. I thought that's what he wanted, but, money talks, and so did private jets and Saudi money. So
yeah, it is really crazy. I thought he had a lot more to offer as well. I'm surprised no teams really took a chance on him. I know he was offered to 6 Premier League clubs. They all turned it down. You could probably imagine what 6 clubs those were. But yeah, he's moving on to Saudi, and it's really shocking. What also is very, very surprising is that the same week Mbappe gets back into the PSG squad after some constructive talks, I think is how they reported it. Neymar leaves. Is there anything to read into that, Steve?
I mean, the season's starting. That's all I'm really taking from it is, all right, PSG, it's time to cut the crap. Mbappe is playing for you. No one ever thought that Mbappe would ever be sat out this whole season. So, kind of weird. I guess they had, like you said, constructive talks. So, Mbappe can help PSG win, and that's what PSG needs. If they're losing this player, which they most likely will, it's time to get over your poor management of this player. So, yeah, correlation there for sure. Neymar gone, you got to replace him. Mbappe's never been out of this team. I shouldn't even say that, but you gotta have your team ready to start the season, especially with one of your stars leaving the club.
Yeah, I think there's also a lot of ego between both of those players, obviously, and it was either him or Neymar, and I think there's been reported stuff between them before, and I think maybe there's something real to it, and that's why Neymar is leaving the club. Moving on to London, the Blues in Chelsea will pay Brighton again £100 million from Moises Caicedo. He's set to sign an 8-year deal, and he completed his medical on Monday. First of all, that's absolutely insane for a midfielder of Moises Caicedo. I think he's a great player, but that's an insane amount of money. Chelsea. What's probably crazier about this is that Liverpool was in for Moises Caicedo. I think reports were saying the deal was almost done, and then Chelsea swooped back in, took him from Liverpool, and Liverpool had to turn back to Romeo Lavia, who then Chelsea this week came back in for and are reportedly signing for £60 million. Steve, is Liverpool, are they going to ever sign a defensive midfielder? Because they need one, especially after that first week. And just can you tell me what the hell is happening here?
Yeah, this is just I. If I was a Liverpool fan, I'm so sorry, y'all. I mean, Chelsea did this last season too. It's a classic. What I'm seeing on online forums and stuff like that. It's this American owner just going, "You like him? I like him. You like him? I like him." It's like it's like a toxic friend you have that just wants to date all the people you're interested in. But I even saw a sad rumor today of Liverpool being interested in Tyler Adams, which great player. He does not belong near Liverpool. He has a lot more development to go, and especially if you're a Liverpool fan, you're hearing Moises Caicedo in Latvia, and then going to Tyler Adams, that's got to be a blow. So, I mean, it's just Chelsea has unlimited amounts of money in the Premier League, it seems, and so it's pretty depressing as a Liverpool fan. They have time. I mean, Lucas Paquetá is still available. He's been majorly linked with Manchester City, but I mean, go get somebody. I mean, you see Newcastle go and get blanking on the Italian from AC Milan. Uh,
Tonali.
Tonali. It's perfect, like an example of a smart buy, and it's been 1 week, but a smart buy from Newcastle to get players that don't cost 110 million pounds. Like they're out there. So to answer your question, yes, Liverpool still has time to sign a defensive midfielder. If it's going to be a high-profile one, the one they want, I don't know, but there are plenty of capable players out there. So hopefully they can get a deal done without Chelsea
Yeah,
coming in.
I think they will. I also saw them leak to that Fulham holding midfielder. I forget his name. Oh, what's his name?
And Gisa?
No,
Looks like.
he's currently there. He's really good. Anywho, like Steve, with this whole situation, especially this week, it's just come to the forefront. Is Liverpool starting to lose their gravitas in the market, or is it just more? Is Chelsea more appealing in some weird way? Is it literally just because they have more money to offer the players? Like why? Because if it was my choice, I'd be going to Liverpool. I think they're title contenders. I would not be going to Chelsea. But what is it with all of these players choosing Chelsea over teams like Liverpool?
I mean, I think the prospect of, I mean, Chelsea's going to spend money, and they've shown to be cutthroat with paying 40 million pounds for Graham Potter than firing him. And I think as a player, the only way I can think of is, okay, Chelsea is going to be this next Manchester City with all this money going into their club, and money's not. If you see a need in the transfer market, they're going to fill it. Todd Bowley's going to fill it with 110 million pound midfielder and Moises Caicedo that's never even scored 5 goals in the Premier League. Like the assists aren't there, the goals aren't there, but he's highly rated, so he's now in Chelsea. Um, but no, I mean Liverpool, they have that Champions League title, they have the Premier League title within the past 5 years, only ones to really rival City, like we've talked about. I mean Liverpool, honestly, I think is maybe misspent a little bit. Like they have an amazing front line and Jota, Nunez, Salah, Luis Diaz, Gakpo. That's 5 players. I mean, maybe it's time to look at yourself in the mirror. Maybe you should have sold one in the summer and gotten deals done before August. So, I don't know. I'm not going to buy the whole they've lost their gravitas. They had a bad season last year, but they're still one of the best teams in Europe, and I think they're going to finish in the top 3 in the Premier League. But it's very, very strange. I think what you're seeing with the Saudi transfers going in, it's been so money motivated, more so than I've ever seen with players choosing where they want to take their career. It's really weird, honestly, but I don't know.
Yeah, It is crazy. João Palhinha was the player I was talking about, by the way, that was on
Paulinho.
Fulham.
Okay.
I saw him linked to Liverpool today. Steve, you surprised me with this today. A
Yes,
quiz?
yes.
Oh
Yes, we have
gosh.
a
Okay.
quiz time. Yeah, you being famous on this for you proposing quizzes to Cole and I have a quiz for you. Nothing really extensive. Yours are way more elaborate, but talking about all these expensive transfers. Moises Caicedo are the most expensive transfers in and out of the Premier League is ranked number 5 on the all-time list. Can you name the four above him? Four, three, two, and one all-time Premier League highest paid transfers in to the Premier League and sold.
Oh gosh. Um,
Four players above him.
above that. Oh God. Well, Jack Grealish was 100, so that's
No,
less.
no, he's number 3. He was 117
Oh,
according to Transfer Market, and this is in the currency of euros. So Jack
okay.
Grealish is number 3 at 117.5 million euros. So you have
Okay.
three more.
Okay. Let's see. It's
Caicedo's
Mudryk
at
for Chelsea.
um Mudryk is not on here. No.
Really? Okay. Lukaku might be there.
Lukaku's number 7 beneath him at 113 million.
Oh God.
Right above him
Um,
happened this summer.
Declan Rice.
Yep.
More than that.
So you need 1
I
and
mean
2.
those,
Number 1 and 2 all time.
and they had to have been recently. Enzo Fernandez.
Yes, number 2, who's number 1?
Am I missing it?
And he's played for
Oh my
Villa.
God. And he's played for Villa.
Yes.
What? Um.
I'll give you a hint. He's a forward.
Ooh.
He's a forward and Brazilian.
Am I just tripping?
Philip Coutinho to Barcelona. It was a sell. So it wasn't a
Oh
league
my
that
God.
yeah,
That was
yeah.
a
Yeah, it was a sell. The
Oh,
Barcelona
that's
was
so right.
135 million euros to
Oh my
Barcelona.
God.
We all know how that worked out from Liverpool. Didn't work out. But kind of how's Coutinho doing? Is he still on the Villa squad?
He is. He was injured a lot of last year, injured some preseason. He looked decent when he did play this preseason, so if he has his mind right, I think he could get in. He's been rumored with some moves away to Saudi, of course, but
God.
we'll see. I totally forgot about that because I was thinking a lot of ins because Premier League has the most money, but Liverpool did sell him for a massive amount of money.
Huge fee. And it
Oh,
did not work out for Barca, but you know.
worked out for Liverpool. That's
Yeah, it did.
for sure. Okay, thank you for that quiz.
Just
That
some
was really
fun.
good.
Just
You're
some fun.
testing my knowledge there. I don't know if I would have ever got Coutinho if I sat here for 5 more minutes. That was great. Let us know how you did on that quiz. Hopefully you're playing along. We're gonna move into the Women's World Cup though. And let's just get this part out of the way. The U.S. women's national team got knocked out in the round of 16 to Sweden. They drew the game 0-0, I believe, and then lost 5-4 in penalties. Sweden's goalkeeper Musovic was my player of the match. I'm assuming she was the official one as well, with 11 saves on the day. I know might be beating a dead horse at this point. We had our doubts going into this round of 16. What are your thoughts now that it's all over with? Thoughts about the game? Thoughts about this team, Steve?
Yeah, like you said, I'll keep it brief because we've been talking about it a little bit, but I mean, they looked good this game. I think that's the most disappointing thing for me is this was probably their best performance of the World Cup. It wasn't a half by half performance. They had pressure on. They were, you could say, the better team. But it was just too little, too late, and I wasn't surprised. We talked a lot about it. I don't know if this is it, and it again, yeah, too little, too late for this team. Didn't really seem to gel well together, and You have Julie Ertz playing center back, defensive mid, all over the place. And then you have, you know, questionable substitutions, all those kinds of things. And, people like Carly Lloyd have like tripled down on her criticisms of the U.S. women's national team of not having that bite or mentality. I don't know. She even talked about how like sports science is like prohibiting that. I don't know. The game is there's a lot more parity. There's on the positive sides of things. This World Cup's been really exciting to watch because you're having Nigeria come out and beat England 3-2. Like, whoa, that's awesome. Like these teams, like we're gonna get to it later. Spain going to their first ever World Cup final. Like that's so awesome to see. And so even after this game too, I forget one of the Swedish players came out and said, "Don't talk shit about the U.S. women's national team." And so there's that respect there. This team is still, one of the best in the world. It just I'm torn of whether it's. I think coaching is a big part of it. I think if you're the best team in the world, back-to-back World Cup champions, to have a USL coach you into the World Cup is, sorry, U.S. Soccer Federation, kind of embarrassing. And yeah, there's a lot more parity in the game. They expanded the tournament. There's more investment from countries into the women's sports, which is what you'd love to see. And if that puts more pressure on the U.S. women's team to maybe not shoot commercials about what's going to stop them, then that's great. Like I will poke fun a little bit about that. I don't know if you saw those commercials of how are we going to stop this U.S. women's national team? When in reality, when watching them in the World Cup, it was how can't you stop them? Like this is their. It was so poor. But I think they ended honestly in a weird way with their held up high. They gave it all in that last performance. Dramatic penalty kicks. Alyssa Nair taking a PK. I think she's the first ever goalie ever to be the goalie saving penalties in a shootout in a World Cup, and then step up and take a penalty and bury it. So that was awesome. But just it was never really meant to be this tournament for the women for the U.S.
Yeah, I don't think so either. We just couldn't score goals. We talked about it
Yeah.
going into the knockout rounds. Like, we just needed to put balls in the back of the net. It was going to be Alex Morgan, Sophia Smith. We needed Rodman to step up. This didn't really happen for us. And when you combine that with a goalkeeper who had a day of her life,
Yeah.
it's just not meant. It's just not meant to be at that point. We definitely deserved to win that game, but we didn't. Sweden went through, and we will look forward into the next World Cup. England survived in penalties against Nigeria and then went on to beat Colombia 2-1 in the quarterfinal. Spain destroyed Switzerland 5-1 and then went on to beat Netherlands 2-1 in the quarterfinal. The best team in the tournament, Japan, we talked about them a little bit last time, bounced out to Sweden in the quarterfinal. Australia took down France in penalties in the quarterfinal, which leaves us to, we had a game today, the day we're recording, Tuesday. It was Spain versus Sweden, and then Australia versus England. Those were the semifinal matches. Steve, can you take us through the game that already happened, Spain versus Sweden?
Yeah, Spain ended up bouncing Sweden out of the World Cup with a 2-1 victory. They kept the good times rolling. They took all the way up until the 81st minute to break through with a Parello. I think that's how you pronounce her name. She had an awesome volley in the 81st minute, and then the game was on. Not even 10 minutes later, Sweden would strike a volley of their own, and a ball loose in the box by Rebecca Blomqvist, who was completely alone in a 6-yard box. The ball just fell to her. She lined it up, and it was a very nice finish, less than 10 minutes from the other goal. So this takes us into the 89th minute of regulation time, where Olga Carmona, it was on a set piece, receives a ball to like, the edge of the 18-yard box and just rips one. Kind of not right just above the grasps of Sweden's goalkeeper. And it was drama. It was an amazing goal. It was incredible. So, like I said, Spain will be punching their ticket to the World Cup final. It is not only their first time to a Women's World Cup final, it is their first time in a semifinal. It was their first time in a quarterfinal. They've never made it past the round of 16 to the Spanish side, and they have an opportunity to win the World Cup. which is just so exciting, so awesome to see. Congratulations to them. Brandon's pick, Brandon's dark horse, dare we say? Are we already using that term? But yeah, the other semifinal game previewing that is going to be the co-host nation Australia versus England. Um, they're looking to continue Australia. That is their Cinderella run this World Cup, seeking to be the first host nation to win the World Cup since 1999 when the United States did it with that very infamous Brandy Chastain goal and PKs at the Rose Bowl. That was the last time that a host nation has won. I think the men's last time a host nation has won was 1988 in France or something like that. I looked that up as well. So this doesn't happen often. So this is really exciting to see for the Australian women's team. I think it's safe to say the neutral is rooting for them against England. Australia have kept a tournament leading 4 clean sheets. Very impressive. With 3 of those clean sheets coming in their last 3 games. So they're coming into this matchup versus England hot, not giving up any goals in their past 3 games. The game is taking place in Sydney. Like I said, they have the home advantage. England had a really dramatic come from behind performance against Colombia, but honestly, Colombia, it was very poor goalkeeping mistake from Colombia that allowed England to get back into the game, and then terrible defending as well for the second goal. So honestly, going into the tournament, Australia was ranked 10th in the world. England was ranked 4th with FIFA World Cup rankings, but I think Australia is the favorite, and I would love to see an Australia-Spain final. That's what my money's on. I hope that's what's going to happen. But by the time that this gets aired, we'll know. It being at 6 a.m. Eastern on Wednesday. But so yeah, the Women's World Cup coming to an end, but the excitement not coming to an end to say the least. And hopefully they broadcast the final at like at least 9 p.m. Eastern time, so I don't have to wake up so early.
Yeah, I hope that happens. Yeah, Spain looking really good, like you said. Australia coming in really strong. England been pretty consistent throughout the whole tournament. They won the Euros as well. So 2 really good teams about to go head to head tomorrow morning for us as we're recording. Either of those teams probably deserve to be in the final the way they've been playing. So it's going to be a great final either way. Spain, Australia, Spain, England. Very, very excited for that. Who do you think is going to win it all, Steve, real quick?
I'll say Spain. But if Australia, okay, Spain if England make the final, but Australia if they make the final.
Yeah, that is a big, like, the home field advantage is going to be crazy. I hope we get to see that. That'd be really, really awesome. Okay, moving on. We had match week 1 for the Premier League, people, and I'm going to start with probably the craziest result on the face of it. Newcastle 5, Aston Villa 1. The start of the game was absolutely electric. Tonali had an instant impact, scored in the 6th minute with like this diving kick. It was amazing. Poor defending, but still puts it in the back of the net. Moussa Diaby for Villa then scores in the 11th minute with a great shot. Isaac answers back in the 16th minute from a set piece. Again, poorly defended from Villa. They were just not on it today. And honestly, it was great football to watch. Villa had some more chances towards the end of the half. Both teams were pretty open. Both teams had more chance. Like, it was just really, really great. It could have gone to the half level, but it didn't. It went into half 2-1. Unfortunately, Aston Villa lost Tyrone Mings. I don't think he's technically captain anymore, but he's definitely the vocal leader on the team. They didn't confirm it, but it's a long-term knee injury today, so he will be out the rest of the season, which is awful. But Konsa then makes a terrible error in the 58th minute to give Isaac his second goal. Great finish by Isaac, but that's schoolboy defending. It was just absolutely terrible. And at that point, the game was sort of over, I'd say. Like I said, it was the 58th minute. Villa did have a couple of chances, and Matty Cash, from what I remember, had a wide open goal and missed it. If that ball goes into the back of the net, we're talking about a completely different game, I think. Maybe could end in a draw, or it stays at 3-2, and it's just a close one, nail biter. But Newcastle eventually just overran Aston Villa. The defensive line was awful. They tried to keep a high line with their new mixed defense. They probably didn't practice all that much without Tyrone Mings, so him not being on the field didn't help. But this Newcastle team, I cannot put enough praise on them for how they came out. Yeah, and it could have been way worse than 5-1, to be honest. Emi Martinez saved Aston Villa. Steve, what are your thoughts from the game?
Yeah, I mean Newcastle looked really good. It was the involvement of Anthony Gordon on that first goal to Tonali, two new signings, and then you have Harvey Barnes make a run on his first chance to score a goal, and then he ends up laying it off to Colin Wilson, and he should have just taken it, but he doesn't
Yeah,
make that mistake twice, and he buries the second one. Like this, it's the impact signings that really stick out to me, being on the score sheet or on the assist sheet. Isak just he's that man. I think he's gonna have a great season, and they're just very creative. Tonali, great signing, especially when we're talking about this comical numbers of other midfielders. So, anyways, I think Newcastle's gonna be very good this year. Again, first week, hard to read into things too much, but it was a good
yeah.
first week from them. I agree with you though. If Matty Cash puts that ball in, if he doesn't swing as hard as he can at the ball and maybe just tries to direct it into the goal, different game.
Definitely a different game, I think. But it's hard to beat Newcastle at St. James. I don't think many teams do it, especially since last year. And it's an opening day game. I think Villa were always probably going to lose that game, at best draw it. So I'm not going to read too much into it, but people are already freaking out. Are you reading anything into this game? For Aston Villa, I guess.
No, I mean it's no, I'm really not. It's away at St. James Park. It's no, I'm not into it at all. Villa's a solid team, solid squad. They had their chances, they didn't put them away,
Yeah.
and that's all there really is to it to me.
Yeah, I think that's the name of the game sometimes. Hopefully, I will say this, and we can move on here, but Villa gave up in like the 75th minute. They were
Yeah,
dead tired. They just sort of stopped playing, and that's when like I think two more goals went in.
and
It was really, really bad.
Konza got totally undressed. But then
Yeah.
but then you see Ollie Watkins show his class too, do the exact same thing on the opposite side of the field. It just didn't work
Yes.
out. So I think
Yeah.
Villa has that talent. So just as I won't say just as much as Newcastle, but they have that talent in their squad to score goals. The
Yeah. I think
defense
starting
though,
11s are pretty fairly even. I mean, not anymore. Like I think the defenses Newcastle has the edge for sure. I think both teams are just really good. I might have put them a little too low on our predictions last year, but it is a long, long season. So we will see. But a team that we probably saw this coming: Burnley 0, Man City 3. It's a hard way to start the season, Steve. I don't think Vincent Kompany and his men will lose too much sleep over this loss. So we'll just move on from that. But how good is Erling Haaland? My word, like he's just picking up where he left off. Scored in the 4th minute, scored in the 36th minute. Both really good goals, just like really good from him. I think one-time finishes, yeah. How many do you think he'll score this season, and how do you rate his opening week performance?
yeah, opening week performance, class, what we kind of expected with Holland. How many goals on the season though? I'll be a little bit cynical. I think I'll give him 28. I don't know if he'll hit that 30 mark with Kevin De Bruyne being out, and maybe just second year in the league. This is more of like a baseball like mentality I think I'm having, but second year in the league, they got to figure out how to defend him a little bit. But I do think that'll be the plan, just to stop Holland and force Man City to get goals from Grealish, Foden, and otherwhere on the field. Um, but yeah, with all that being said, I think he'll score at least 28 goals.
Yeah, I think in the Premier League it'll be close to 28. I think he'll hit 30 still, especially if he stays healthy. Knock on wood. But a player that didn't stay healthy, like you just mentioned, Kevin De Bruyne. He's been having, I think it was hamstring at the end of last year injury, but he went down and injured. Was it the first? I think it was the first half, wasn't it? And he will be out for about 4 months. How big of a miss could this be for Manchester City?
I mean, it's huge. I mean, it really is. As talented as this team is, and they'll adapt. I think you see a lot more Phil Foden. Phil Foden doesn't even start every week for this team. So, boom. Like, it's next man up. Gundogan was a midfielder in this team that was sneakily creative in the past. So, I think he will be missed. Kovacic, you're up. We'll see. But I'm not too worried about City adapting. Pep
Yeah,
is
they
a
also have
master.
Bernardo Silva still.
Yeah, and Bernardo Silva that can play up through the middle and stuff like that. But I mean, what De Bruyne brings to the team is intangible. You can't really replace it. But I think that they'll tweak their style of play and whatnot. More ins and outs runners with Silva and Foden. They'll figure it out, but it'll be a huge loss. Um, but it'll be a huge
Yeah.
loss to a team that is still absolutely stacked. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think we talked about this a little bit last week. They're a little bit thin going into the season. They're still trying to make a couple more signings. But for as many games as they play, I think it's like close to 60. They're a little thin, I think, especially now losing Kevin. Pep's a genius, and I think that's where you're going before I interrupted you. I'm sorry. But
You're good.
Pep is a genius. They will figure it out in the midfield, I'm sure of it. But if you're Arsenal, you're saying this could be a chance. This could be a chance. We'll have to see if Man City start to drop points. You're not happy to lose a player like Kevin. Nobody is, as well as he plays. But yeah, maybe that's the beginning of the open door. Maybe it's creaking open.
Yeah, curious also if the rumors then being linked to Lucas Paqueta from West Ham start to increase. Now that it's like, okay, let's get
Yeah.
this guy in. I wouldn't be surprised if in the next few days I see something progress very quickly with that
Yeah.
potential signing. Because I mean, they have money too, just like Chelsea.
Yeah, and Manchester City doesn't really mess around. They were in for Michael Olise, which I saw today. Chelsea, he has chosen Chelsea over Manchester City, which again, I should put that in the transfer talk because that's what the hell is that about? Um, but that's probably not going to get done anymore. So they're looking for another winger. Um, forget his name. Daka, I think his last name is. Or no, sorry, Jeremy Doku. That's his name.
Bundesliga.
They were yeah, I forget where he's now. Really good winger, so I think he's now on their top of the list. I seen Paqueta, so those deals will probably happen by the end of the week. I'm assuming because really Man City doesn't mess around. So we will see about that, but they will need some reinforcements. I think Brighton 4, Luton Town 1. De Zerbi's Brighton really picking up where they left off. They were just so many levels above Luton, which I think we came to expect. But to be fair, it was only 1-0 at half, and Luton held that score line all the way into the 71st minute, where Luton started to fall apart a little bit. They gave up a really, really soft penalty. I don't think it was a penalty, by the way. But they were given one back to them, which I also don't think was a penalty. Or Carlton Morris, who finished third in the Golden Boot race in the championship last year, opened his Premier League campaign. So at 2-1 with 10 minutes to go, Luton thinks they have a chance. The crowd is into it, the away crowd there. But Mpanzu, which is he's famous for making his way from the non-league all the way up to the Premier League with Luton, had a terrible, terrible error in his first game in the Premier League to give Brighton their third goal in the 85th minute, and the game was basically over from there. Ferguson scored like later in the 90-something minute to make it to 4. I wanted to highlight this. Brighton had a 4.01 xG from 12 shots on target in the game, 71% possession. Those two numbers alone just really show how they dominated. It is so hard to get above like a 2 xG and even like a 3 xG in games. It is the first week, so it's against Luton, so I guess that's expected. But my word, they scored 4 goals. They were expected to score 4 goals. How good is this Brighton team?
Yeah, they're really good, and you could argue they could do a lot with £100 million too after that Caicedo deal. So there's been a lot of memes of Brighton just it's Chelsea's their best customer. And will their luck run out on high impact transfers for bargains? When's the next Matoma gonna come from, or Caicedo, 21-year-old from Ecuador? Like how they find these players and McAllister, like the list goes on and on. How they find these players is absolutely bewildering to me, and if they can keep it going, that's just awesome. But even outside the signings, just the style they play and the football they play is just so it's it's just like attractive to watch and to see. It's a treat for the neutral. And nobody really has issues with Brighton. I'm sure some I don't know Brighton's rival. It's such an easy team to root for and just enjoy watching play. So I think that's also another thing of like, I think everybody's kind of uniformed around. We want their success.
Yeah, they are really good. Julio Enciso is another one of those players that'll probably go soon. Estupinian, their left back, I think
Yeah.
we put in our team of the season last year because of how amazing he was. Um, and they're just going to find more. Something I read last year, which is might have been from the Athletic, is that their recruiting and the way they run their club is about 2 to 3 years ahead of the next best club. Like the way they do their operations is just so far advanced from everybody else. Is that's how they stay ahead? Sort of like a Moneyball type. Like they're just finding ways to find these players and turn them, put them through the Brighton system and make them these 20, 40, 60, 100 million pound signings or sells. Like they're absolutely amazing and they're really, really fun to watch. Chelsea won, Liverpool won. I think they've drawn their last 3 matches, 4 matches, something like that. Five? Is it five?
Five Premier League matchups. They've met in the FA Cup and the Leagues Cup final, which you've seen.
Yeah.
But Premier League
Which also
matchups,
drew and went to penalties, I think,
yes,
both times.
yeah, they've drawn their last 5 Premier League matchups. It's absolutely insane.
It is really, really crazy. Yeah, dude. It was a pretty good game. I thought Liverpool were in it the first half and then really went away the second half. Chelsea started dominating the ball, dominating possession, putting a lot of pressure on that Liverpool defense. What are your thoughts after this game? I mean, you can get into the goal scorers and whatnot, but I think overall a draw was a fair result, and I think Liverpool might be a little lucky to get out of there with a point.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely make that argument. Also, Chelsea with Nicholas Jackson up front, he didn't have a bad game. It was just kind of meh. And with Chelsea and the team that they are looking to assemble and the what they're going after, they need better than that. And so, but yeah, they looked great in the second half though, pressuring a lot. That Liverpool midfield has to be exhausted, which was consisting of Cody Gakpo as well. And there's even a moment on Chelsea's goal. You see Ben Chilwell on the edge of the box heading the ball with Gakpo just like standing near him, just like, oh, like these are just things that like these attacking players aren't used to. But yeah, Liverpool, you need to make some signings. But a fair result, a fair result. Class was personified with Salah's assist. He had a goal ruled for offsides as well, which would have been 2-0. And then right after that, it flipped to 1-1. So if he times his run a little bit better, who knows? Salah's going to be the bright spot for this Liverpool team again. No surprise there. But yeah, a fair result. Both these teams are going to be good this year. Really good.
Yeah, definitely. Luis Diaz getting off the mark with a really good goal. Salah was really pissed to come off. I was actually really, really surprised he got pulled so early in the game. He's usually the one that can flip a game on its head and pop up with something. But Klopp decided otherwise. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, they have 5 forwards on this team. I don't care. Like Jota, you can stick him in the midfield or Gakpo. They tried to, but I think there's always that pressure of a manager to like get Nunez on. But then who are you going to take off? That's fine to get Nunez on the field, but you're not taking off Salah. You're not taking off your best player. You're not taking off the guy that could have the most assists in the league now, especially that De Bruyne is gone. So that has won the Golden Boot like 3 times in the past 5 years. It feels like so. It was very puzzling. Maybe first game of the year. Maybe there was something in training. He wants to, I don't know, trying to be the devil's advocate here. But 3 points against Chelsea to start off the year would have been nice. And Salah is going to be, yeah, I'll say probably the only person on that team that can make something out of nothing. So puzzling decision from Klopp. And yeah, Salah was not happy.
Yeah, I think rightly so. There's a kid, I think he was wearing number 80 or something, got subbed 60 maybe, got subbed on for Salah,
Oh, I didn't
and
even see
also
that.
Harvey Elliott
Yeah.
came on for the same transfer period, but transfer period for the same substitution period. Yeah, it was really weird by Klopp. I think he's sort of just given up. I don't really know. I don't know if he ever came out and said anything about it. Chelsea up top, though, do you think? I mean, they've spent so much money. I think 500 million at this point, if not more, maybe 600 million. Um, they still don't have like a very recognized striker. I mean, do you think Nicholas Jackson is going to be that guy for them, or do they need to sign another person?
Yeah, I don't think that they'll make a signing of like a high profile number nine this window. I think it's kind of gone. I think they've made their bed at least till January. Nicholas Jackson in La Liga last year had 12 league goals in La Liga. Perfectly fine and suitable, but you're not bringing in 12 La Liga goals and expecting it to maybe translate to 20 goals in the period. Like it's Chelsea has high standards. Like this is a team that demands perfection, especially after a horrible season. Gosh, so I could see maybe in January. I'm just saying it now. What did you say that Mbappe said about leaving for free?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, Todd Bowley was listening. He was, and so maybe he's like, yeah, I'll wait till January to get Mbappe on my team. Maybe. I don't know. But I think for the time being, I think they have so much talent on the field, especially after getting Caicedo. Um, I mean, they'll find goals, I think, is what they're just going to bank off of
Yeah.
and see where that takes them come January.
Yeah. The squad is still a little bit messy for me, but they are still really good, very deep. We'll see what they can do. Man United versus Wolves, really not much to talk about. Do you want? I'll let you talk about this one because you were getting hot earlier.
Yeah, before we started recording, I think I expected so much out of it's the first game of the season. All these are hot takes and way too early and all that stuff. But United looked horrible. I think United allowed 21 shots on goal.
No, really?
I fact check me right now while I'm talking.
Okay, I'll look it up.
It was something comical like that. And if it wasn't that, it felt like it. We talked about this Wolves team in our preview of the chaos that's going on with this club. Just firing their manager right before the season started. And they go out and everything except the finishing played United off the field. They had more chances. They had this United midfield just running in reverse this whole time. Mason Mount, Bruno Fernandes could not catch up to Cunha in the middle of the field, who was just gliding through this team. So, red flags for Man United. They end up getting a goal with Varane off of Aaron Wan-Bissaka, kind of like lofted assist. Varane puts away with a header, but. Yeah, I don't know. United not convincing whatsoever. And when I look at 100 million-pound Anthony and Sancho on your bench and Garnacho starting on the left wing in Rashford's position, with Rashford playing up the middle, not feeling comfortable, playing out of his position. So it was just really weird for United to start Garnacho and play Rashford out of his position. And they almost lost this game. Like, I know they won. But it should have been tied, shouldn't it, Brandon?
Yeah, I think so. It was 23 shots total, 6 on target.
20, not on goal. 23 shots.
Yeah, but it should have, at least Wolves should have had a chance to tie it, I guess we'll say. VAR, first week back, already an absolute mess. Everybody's eyes were on this game too because it was the Monday night game, so everybody was watching it. I have Aston Villa people I follow; they're all tweeting about it. It was an awful decision. I mean, people immediately, even the announcer on Peacock was like, "Wow, I might need an explanation," or so. I think he said somebody needs to come up here and give me a yellow card because I don't understand how that wasn't how that wasn't a penalty, and rightly so, of course. As is the thing now, the refereeing body came out and said, yes, that was absolutely a penalty, and now they suspended referee Simon Hooper, VAR referee Michael Salisbury, and assistant VAR Richard West for this next weekend's round of Premier League games. Rightly so, right? I mean, but that doesn't really
No,
doesn't
that
really change anything, does
no,
it?
they
Like,
shouldn't have jobs, in my opinion. That's just, or at least more than a week. I mean, they had the payday that they got from whoever paid them off because that was so agreed. Like Onana just punched the Wolves player like in the head,
he
like
like smacked both of them.
smacked him. He
He
went
smacked
out.
like two players.
The ball is just gone, and just you can't. It was so. I could explain it to an infant, and like he can't do that. I'll be like, you're right. You're right. He can't do that. But grown referees that have probably been refereeing also for like 20 years, probably, most likely. And the fact it's not one ref, not two refs, but three referees couldn't make the decision correctly. And sorry, you have to look big picture. A team that's going to be fighting relegation this year in Wolverhampton, it's a huge deal for them. And points at the beginning of the season, they're the same points at the end of the season that save you from the relegation line. So if I'm Wolves, I'm like suing. I don't know the correct like I and it's almost more frustrating when they come out and say, "Yeah, it was wrong." Well, you employ these referees, or do you not? I don't know. Sorry.
I just don't know why they don't have a better system set up. Like, at least like do it how the NFL does it. You have one person that is the same person every week, the same team every week. That it goes to New York, and that New York looks at it and makes a decision and sends it back. Like, at least there's some sort of level of consistency there, right? Except you have all of these referees just rotating every single week to different games, to different intensity of games. Like, it's just a whole mess. I don't really know how to fix it, but we're only in week one and there's referees getting suspended. VAR, figure it out.
And it's another thing, real quick before we move on, is like this guy is going to ref the rest of the season, like you were saying. Like
Yeah, he will.
he will.
They all will.
They all will. And I think back to Champions League final with Didier Drogba and Barcelona, that famous final to where the referee missed so many calls and handed Barcelona their Champions League title. He wasn't allowed. He got banned from all UEFA games and we ended up like refereeing in Norway. He actually just came out with a book. I wish I knew his name off the top of my head. I forgot. But he talks about ever since that decision, like his career, like he was barred from like refereeing like in certain leagues and stuff like that. Like maybe that's what we need to do because it happens way too often and there's no risk to these referees other than a 1 week suspension to where they get to go on holiday.
Yeah. Yeah, it is really a lot. I mean, getting high level referees is difficult enough, so I understand it from that perspective, right? Um, but it's the best league in the world. If
It's a
all the money
billion
that's
dollar
invested,
league.
all the money
Multi-billion.
that's invested in this league, and if Wolves go down by a point, I mean,
God.
that's a big big mistake. We'll move on to match week 2. A little bit of a preview here. Steve, let's jump into Tottenham versus Manchester United because this is definitely the best game of the week. Going back to 2019, Manchester United have won 6 games, drawn 2, and only lost 1 against the Hotspurs, the Lily Whites. The biggest score difference came in 2020, though, where Tottenham shocked Manchester United at Old Trafford 6-1. That's a famous game, I'm sure you remember. A lot of us remember. 3 goals in the first 10 minutes. Kane and Son both had 2 goals each at the end of the day. Some assists mixed in there. Very different times now for both teams. Give me your feelings, because we didn't get to talk about this, of your Spurs team last week. And then, how do you think this game will go? So, how do you think they Spurs played last week?
Yeah, it was a 2-2 draw to Brentford. A lot of positives. Madison looked fantastic. Romero with a goal looked great. It was a beautiful set piece delivery. Yada yada. But the team looked. It was a different Tottenham. It wasn't defensive. We had most of the ball. We had more corners. We had more passes. It wasn't this what we've seen over the past few years with Antonio Conte, and Jose Mourinho, of sitting in deep, counter-attacking football. So it's a new era. It was the start of a new era. Postecoglou, a great first shot. I mean, it was away at Brentford. We've talked about Brentford in our preview again. Good team, 2-2 draw, fair on the day. And I think the difference there is that Heung-min Son and Richarlison struggled to get into the game. I think Son had like one good chance. But I think the success of this team, we touched on it before we started the recording, but kind of hinges on Heung-min Son this year. Named the captain now after Harry Kane has left. So it's on his shoulders. If he can even get back to like his 15 goal mark and like maybe like 8 assists, like not even when he shared the Golden Boot with Salah of 23 goals, but this team seemed way more positive, way more encouraging going forward. Um, the defense needs some work for sure, but it's going to be fun watching this team. I like not being in Europe, not a lot of expectation. So the Tottenham team's really going to figure out who they are as a squad. Also, Eric Dyer not even mentioned on the bench,
Wow.
which is wild. Pascal was asked about that after the game, and he said he's a lad just like the rest of the boys. There are a lot of good players on the bench, a lot of good players not featured in the squad. So really curious after this transfer window closes how this team shapes up. But
Yeah.
but yeah, going into this game with Man United, I'm excited. I'm so excited. Um, I fancy our chances, honestly, to after what I saw last week from Man U and Tottenham's. I fancy us to win the game, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, think it's fair. James Madison looked really good. Think they might have given him that second assist. Did they? Maybe he definitely had one assist with a great crossed in ball for what's his name's
Romero.
header, Romero's header, who got concussed. And glad they brought him off the
Yeah.
field. That was amazing to see.
Yeah. Yeah.
One thing I noticed too, Emerson Royale was like all over the field. He just had like a free roll from his position, which I think is going to be scary for Tottenham's defense. But he scored a goal because he was all over the field. So I know you have your feelings about Emerson Royale.
No,
So how are you feeling about him now? I guess.
no, yeah. I mean, Emerson's great going forward. He loves to go forward. He scored a great goal. It was an absolute banger. But then on the other side, I believe it was Wisa like scored against Tot. He struggles getting back in defending. Tottenham played a 4-3-3 this game. We're usually a team that plays a three. Honestly, we switched it up a lot, but just with three center backs in general. And so having that two center backs, we got exposed a little bit here and there. Moving from a system where our wing backs are able to move forward, which last season it was Perisic and Royale just running around all over the place. Perisic played striker, winger, left wing back, and midfield for us, and that's the way it looked like for Royale looking this past game. So I love him getting forward. It's great, but we'll figure it out. I'm honestly not too concerned. We're gonna give up goals this year, but we're gonna be exciting moving forward. Score more points to win the game. And Royal's only gonna get better. He even got better at the end of last season too. I criticized him a lot, but he finished last season strong. And so, I mean, he has the starter spot right now over Pedro Porro. So that's huge. So hopefully it
Yeah.
inspires him to give a little bit more stronger performances on defense.
It's definitely a new team under Postecoglou. I think you could tell that from like the first minute. You fancy your chances against Manchester United. I also fancy Tottenham's chances against Manchester United, especially after United's first week. Can I get a score prediction from you?
Yeah. I won't go as far as that 6-1 result, which, funny fact about that 6-1 result, do you remember we watched that here in this house when we were roommates? I remember watching it with Tyler. Christian Eriksen scored in the first few minutes of that game. I jumped and I landed. I was like, yeah, I fist pumped and I ripped my pants.
Really?
Yes, I ripped my boxers to be more specific. When Christian Eriksen scored the goal, it was amazing. Score prediction though, I'm gonna go 3-1 Spurs.
Wow. Okay. We will take that. And we'll see what happens with that one. Manchester United's record, like I said, is really good against Tottenham, no matter where they play. Manchester City is taking on Newcastle, another amazing game at the weekend. Newcastle have not beaten Manchester City since 2019. In that time, City has won 7 of the games and drawn 2 of them. Last year, they met early in the season with a 6-goal thriller. A lot of you might remember the game was honors even at 3 apiece. Both of these teams, like we said before, had really strong starts to their campaigns last week. What are we expecting in this one, Steve?
Yeah, Man City, Newcastle. I'm so excited. I'm reminded of last season's matchup where they ended up drawing, I believe, at St. James's Park. It's gonna
It
be
was, yeah.
it's gonna be an awesome test early on in the season. It's early, so it's difficult to like these teams aren't in form, like they just kind of got started. So it's gonna be a raw test of where these two teams are at. I'm just hoping that it's not I'm hoping it's not a blowout with City just crushing Newcastle. I don't think it will be. Um, I hope there's goals in it. I don't want it to be a 0-0 draw. So I really want both these teams to go for it early on in the season. I want to see a Holland goal. Give me a Miggy goal. It's going to be. I mean, I disagree with you. I think this might be the best match of the weekend, honestly. So,
Could be.
but yeah, I'm excited. It's
Yeah,
going to be a good one.
I'm very, very excited as well. I think Newcastle has a really good shot to upset here. I don't know how big of an upset that would technically be, but um, Man City will be up for it. It's their first home game of the season. But Newcastle coming off that flying 5-1 win, they looked really good. I'm excited for the matchups like Sven Botman versus Holland. Let's see what Manchester City's defense can do with Isak. Who's going to win the midfield? Is it going to be Tonali? Is it going to be Kovacic if Kovacic starts? Rodri? Like, which midfield is going to win? I think that's where the game will probably won't be won and lost. But let's be reminded, Newcastle can defend all day and counter. They don't mind not necessarily having the ball. They can have it if they want it. They can just play so many different ways and hurt you so many ways. This Newcastle team is great. This Manchester City team is great. This might be the best game of the weekend. Moving on, Nottingham Forest versus Sheffield United. These two teams met in the championship playoffs last, where the game couldn't be decided over the two-leg normal time. It had to be decided by penalties, where, of course, Nottingham Forest won and then went on to achieve promotion in the next game. In the 6 matchups before that, Forest won 2, Sheffield won 1, and there were 3 draws. So sort of split there, Steve, this could be a relegation 6-pointer already in the season, as most people have these teams in or near the bottom there going down. Who do you think has the edge in this one?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go with the team that was in the Premier League last year in Nottingham Forest. I'm really curious to see if they've worked out all their kinks of last year, if they have that team identity. Who's their striker that was scoring all those goals? I think he scored this past week too.
Awani.
Yeah, Owangi. I remember we had an episode I was talking about him. He was just on fire last year, ending the season. So yeah, I'm curious to see. This is definitely a placeholder of where's Nottingham Forest at. You know, they have good players. They have good players on this team. And are they going to be able to take care of championship level opponents? I know they were just there, but you have to start separating yourself a little bit. I think they have the talent to do so. But Sheffield, like you said, these teams play each other close. Big placeholder test to see where's Forest going to be this year. So I could see them winning by 2 goals. I could see them losing. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a coin toss. I think Forest does have the edge. Wani's actually scored in 5 straight Premier League games coming in from the last season into this season. I don't even know if he started the last week. I didn't even see, but he did score. Yeah, Forest has the upper hand. They should win this game. It's at home. If they don't win, maybe I wouldn't start to get worried now, but if they lose to Sheffield, just don't lose to Sheffield. Tie or win at home. I think they'll win. So we'll see though. Fulham versus Brentford, a great game as well this week. Last year this matchup gave us 2 amazing games. Both ended in a 3-2 scoreline with both teams taking 3 points each. A matchup where both teams are generally expected to end up mid-table this year. Any thoughts on this one?
I mean, parity between these two teams. I mean, it is level playing field between these guys, and it's gonna be an awesome game. Probably the most evenly matched game we have coming up this weekend. So it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. We have some good games. And then the last one we're highlighting here, Aston Villa versus Everton. Since being back in the Premier League, Aston Villa has not lost to Everton. 6 wins, 2 draws. Villa has won the last 4 with a combined score of 8-1. Villa's obviously looking to bounce back after a tough weekend in Newcastle, like we mentioned earlier. Steve, do you think they can do it, or will Everton give them a hard time?
Is it at Goodison Park or is it at Villa Park?
It's at Villa Park.
Ooh, I saw Everton just signed, I think, Jack Harrison from Leeds, and
He's injured currently.
oh dang, and Adama Traore though, right? Or am I tripping?
I don't know.
Yeah, anyways, neither of those players would matter anyways. I think Villa should take care of business, and if they don't take care of business, if Everton get a draw at Villa Park, again, second game of the year, but Villa has to start figuring some stuff out if they can't get 3 points at home versus Everton.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and I will leave that there until next week. Moving on now to the Leagues Cup, which has sort of taken the U.S. by storm, North America, that is. Steve, can you take us through this quickly?
Yes, absolutely. It's going to be a quick run through. It's really should be called the Messi's Leagues Cup already.
Yeah.
Messi and Messi's Miami got pushed to the edge by FC Dallas, but won in penalties. Then ended up taking care of Charlotte 4-0. And then moving on to the other teams into the tournament, we had Nashville beat Cincinnati away on penalties, Club America in penalties, and destroy Minnesota 5-0. That was their most recent result coming into this, I believe, semifinal coming up soon. Philadelphia beat DC United, just to track with the MLS teams, and New York Red Bulls on penalties. A lot of penalties this. I know it's a World Cup style tournament, but a lot of penalties. And then he took on Cartaro,
I don't know.
whatever it is. Sorry. In the quarterfinals, it took them out. Monterrey is the Mexican team that is in the semifinal right now. They beat Portland, Tigres, and LAFC in a 3-2 thriller. Not on penalties. It's refreshing to see. Yeah, Monterrey's been on a MLS like murder list. They've taken out Portland, LAFC. They took out Seattle in the group stage, I believe, as well. But yeah, but it's really all about Messi's Miami. Miami matched up with Philly in the semifinal to go to the final of the Leagues Cup, where Messi and company dispatched Philly pretty easily. It was a Josef Martinez goal within 4 minutes, and then Alaba scoring his first goal. Ex-Barcelona defender. It's just so funny to say that. Against Philly as well, with David Ruiz also getting one, and Messi scoring his tournament-leading 9th goal from over 20, 25. If you're me, I'm saying 35 because I like to give a few extra yards. Against Andre Blake, a beautiful goal that on the ground that just goes past the Jamaican international, one of the best keepers in the MLS. It's just amazing. It was his 9th goal, like I said, in the tournament, tournament leading, I should say, in 6 matches. He also has an assist. So that's 10 goal involvements in 6 matches for Lionel Messi. Absolutely insane.
That's crazy.
Let
me interrupt you.
You're good. Go ahead.
Let me interrupt you because I have some breaking news as
God.
we're recording.
No way.
Nashville has beaten Monterrey 2-0. Sam Surridge scored. I think he came from Nottingham Forest, right? And Fafa Picault scored in the 96th minute to make it 2-0. I cannot believe that. Nashville is really good, but Monterrey going down to Nashville. Monterrey's amazing run ends. All these Liga MX teams have played all away games.
Yeah.
In this tournament, they haven't hosted any matches, so I wonder if they might try to sprinkle that in next year. I'd love to see that. But kudos to Monterrey for, I think they won every match. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
It's like 6 in a row, 4 or 5 in a row. But it will be a Nashville-Miami final.
Okay, Southeast, I see you.
Yeah, that is crazy, isn't it?
Brandon, who's your money on here?
I think we said like 2 or 3 weeks ago. At this point, it's Miami's to win. If they don't, everyone will be shocked. If they do, no one will be shocked. I don't think anybody will really care.
Yeah.
Because the MLS season is really what matters. And once Miami starts playing away games, that's when things will really start to change, I think. They're also at the bottom of the MLS table currently. Let's move into our final segment, however. You betcha. This goes without saying. We are amateur bettors. This is in no way betting advice, but this is a way for us to have a little fun, put some money where our mouth is. And if you like betting, put your bets in the comments. We want to see if there's any other people that are as crazy as us betting on soccer matches, because we haven't made much money, so if any at all. Steve, what's your lock for this week?
Yeah, all that being said, my 100% guaranteed win for the week is Newcastle over Man City. Not really off of the matchup. Obviously, Manchester City is one of the best teams in the world. But the odds are plus 425 for Newcastle.
Crazy.
I mean, let's show some respect to the Toon Army. They did nothing but spend 200 million pounds on their squad in the summer. So especially after that first week win, I'm confident on Newcastle. And the money's just too perfect. Plus 425. That's a good payout. So I'm going Newcastle over Man City because I'm a fun guy.
Yeah, and I'll be a fun guy as well, and we will both lose money this week because I'm going to say Tottenham's going to win at home against Manchester United at plus 180. I think they will start to turn the tide a little bit. Postecoglou's going to draw something up. I hope the Spurs fans are ready for Postecoglou ball because it's been exciting, at least from the first week, and they'll see it in the flesh. So I'm sure that place is going to be rocking just a little bit extra. Those are our bets, and that is it for the supporter section podcast today. We hope you enjoyed our time together. If you made it this far, you got to leave a like for us. Please do that. Subscribe if you have not as well, and get into the comments. I know we've been saying, what'd you like, what'd you didn't like? Do you agree with any of our takes? Do you disagree? You probably do. Let us know how you feel in the comments, please. I've been Brandon Pasek. He's been Stephen Curl. Enjoy your week, and we will see you in the next one. Peace.